Welcome back to another Anyone Can Code video. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make a widget. iOS 14 is here, and one of the biggest things are widgets. So this is what we're going to make. It's pretty much a Bitcoin tracker. You're going to make a widget that can track Bitcoin prices, as well as differences, plus some other stuff. It even works in light and dark mode. So, in this video, you're going to learn about SwiftUI, WidgetKit, and even fetching data from the internet and loading JSONs. So it's going to be quite an exciting tutorial. So before we start, I have a small announcement to make. I've recently published an augmented reality game. It's called Ant Panic AR. It's a unique AR game where you use your iPhone as a magnifying glass to burn robot ants and defend your dessert. No tapping is required in this game. All you have to do is move your phone around to focus a beam of light. AR has been my interest, and I made this game with Unity and the ARKit framework and Blender for the 3D assets. I'd like you to check it out as this helps support me and the channel. The download link is in the description below. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I've already got xCode open. Just make sure that you have xCode 12 or the newest version of xCode, since that's what widgets need to use. And just like all the other videos, I'm gonna make an iOS app. So just select app under iOS, click next. I'm gonna call this BTC app. BTC, if you're wondering, is just short for Bitcoin. The interface is going to be SwiftUI, lifecycle, SwiftUI app, and language is Swift. We just have to, go over this. The most important thing is just that language is Swift. I'm going to click next and create the app. There we go. Okay, so the app is already open. Now the thing is, what we have here is not the actual widget itself, but the app. So if you want to add a widget, and this time around we're not going to build the app, we're just going to build the widget extension. We're just going to go up to the top and click File, New, Target, and there we go. We're going to scroll down. Remember, you selected iOS, and you're going to go to Widget Extension. I'm going to click Next and call this, let's see, BTC App Widget. Now, I'm going to leave include configuration intent off, and all that really means is that you can configure your widget and add little settings to the widget. So let's say, in this case, maybe you wanted to add some currencies or have settings to change the currency that's being displayed. This time, we're just going to use US dollars, so no need for an intent. I'm going to go ahead and click Finished. And I'm going to activate the BTC app widget extension. Alright. So, you should have the widget extension enabled. It's just what we're going to use to test the app. And it's just going to make it a lot easier. I'm just going to make sure my face always floats on top. But anyways, currently we just have... if I open up the BTC app widget folder, which was just created, like just now, I'm just going to click the file here. I'm just going to collapse this sidebar by just dragging it towards the right, and I'm going to get the screen configured. All right. So a few things I want to say. First of all, how do widgets work? Well, how we're actually going to make widgets, or how the actual widget functionality works, is going to be covered later. So it's pretty much this provider struct. Everything in here everything from here down is pretty much the widget, I guess, thinking. So where we're going to get all that Bitcoin data and get and display all the currency and Bitcoin prices. So pretty much everything you can see here is something that we're going to cover later. Now down here is pretty much just a few more, parts. This part here, or these two structs here, or these three, are what's going to help us I guess, build our visual stuff, all the stuff that we're going to make, so all the text, all the images. But most of our display stuff is going to happen inside this part here. Down here is just where we can, change up the different widget stuff. So let's say the title and description. And in here is just the previews. So we can actually preview the display in xCode without having to run the app. I'm going to show that later. Now, we've got that. So we've got that done. Oh, and by the way, one more thing. We have this simple entry here. This pretty much is just where we're going to pass the data from overthinking down into the entry view. And I'm going to configure this first. But I want to also say some other things. First of all, you cannot use animations and you can't make widgets interactive, which is a bit of it's a bit unfortunate, but Apple's explanation is that it's just something that you're meant to glance at, something that people can pick up the phone and just look at. And basically, since it's on your home screen, we're trying to make it not as intensive on your device. So that's why there's no animations and no stuff you can click. So you can't exactly make a game in a widget extension, which is, kind of sad. Otherwise, all the data that we're going to get is going to come from this blockchain API. You can see here, I have this open in Safari, but I have all this pricing, the last trade price. We can check the price difference, and this volume, I believe, is how many Bitcoins have been, bought and sold over the past day. Anyways, you've got all this data. We're going to display all in one nice simple widget. And what else do we have? I think that's really it. So, also, speaking of widgets, recently I updated one of my apps named WeatherDuck. And if you don't know what WeatherDuck is, it's a simple app where you can just simply look at the weather, and there's this little duck where this duck just recommends you what you want to wear, or what you should be wearing for a day. And just because I thought, something that you glance at, I thought it was a good idea to add that as a widget extension. So now there's a new update where you can now look at widgets right from your home screen, or look at WeatherDuck from your home screen. So WeatherDuck widget, there it is, a little plug. Anyways, I think that's all I really have to cover for now. Let's get started. So first of all, I just want to get the assets out of the way. So I'm going to go down into assets.exe assets, and what I'm going to do is I am going to drag in all the images and all the color sets, as you'll see later. So first of all, let me just drag in this background here. I have it on another screen. So there's this other screen over here where I have all my stuff, all the assets and everything. But yeah, don't need to worry about that for now. I'm just gonna make this cover the whole screen, and I'm gonna drag myself down. So I'm gonna go down here. Wow, very magical. Okay, so next, I'm gonna open up the sidebar here on the right, which I just collapsed before. So I'm gonna go over to the top right part of the window, click on this button, and you can see that we can set up all these image set settings. Now, the first thing I want to make is, you can see that there's 1x, 2x, and 3x. Currently, there's only one image. So what I'm going to do is, down in scales over here, I'm going to set it from individual scales to single scale. So this is just the one and only image. But as you'll see later, it's not the one and only image later. What I'm going to do is go down to appearances and select it as any and dark. So now we have a light mode appearance and a dark mode appearance. Now this isn't a dark mode appearance, so I'm going to drag it down to a dark appearance. Any appearance is just light mode, except that they call it any appearance because it's dark and anything else. So for the light mode background, I'm just going to drag it into the any appearance. So you can see we have, it's not loading, but you can see we have the light mode and dark mode background. A few things I want to also add are some color schemes. Now the thing is, with colors, since we're making the app able to use the iPhones or the iOS and iPadOS light and dark mode appearances, we can also have color assets where they change depending on the theme. So I'm gonna go and just drag in, or I'm going to show you how to make some color assets, and then I'm going to drag in my color sets. So what I just did is I right clicked and I pressed color set. So what that does is it just creates a new color set, and here I can rename this to anything, but it's a color set. So you have the light mode appearance and the dark mode appearance, and I can change it so they're individual colors. But I'm going to delete it, and I am going to go down and just drag in all the color sets. There we go. Now we have different color sets. These color sets are just for different parts of the display. So if the prices go up, there's going to be a difference indicator, as you can see on the screen, that shows that the price is going up. Same thing for if it's going down, and if it's I guess if there's nothing else, or if it's the same, which is a pretty rare occurrence, or if there's an error, it's just going to show yellow. So I just named this error color, and this heading color is just the heading. So you can see here if I fine-tuned my my colors, so there's different colors for the light and dark appearances. If you want, you can go grab a color picker and just copy down all these colors, and if you want to copy what I'm doing, then go ahead. But yeah, here are the colors right now. Anyways, I'm just gonna head back into the actual code place, or the BTC app widget.swift. I'm just gonna clean up this hierarchy view so you can only see the widget stuff, just to make it, just so it's not too confusing when you're watching this video. I'm gonna drag myself back up so you can see more of the code now. And there we go. I'm back up here, and everything's looking good. So first of all, let's work on the SwiftUI stuff. And you might be wondering, what's SwiftUI? Basically, SwiftUI is a new way of laying out views. So if you've seen down here, I talked about the live preview. That's a SwiftUI thing. Basically, you can have live previews on this tab over here. So if you click this button where my mouse is and click on canvas, then it'll show up a canvas or a live preview. I'm just going to drag myself down to the bottom right corner, just because this is probably a better place to do stuff in. Anyways, other than that, what you can do is if I resume the playing, or the live previews, because it takes some time to load. But yeah, basically you have a struct here, and this is where all the data is going to be in. So you have a body, you've got all the text in here, and you can even add your own modifiers. So if I just create a new line and do dot bold, and there's many other modifiers, this modifier just changes the text to make it bold. I can add a strike through, or I can change the font or the font weight. Basically, all these modifiers just change the layouts of your views. There's a few more things to SwiftUI, but this is really it. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the title and description down here in the BTC app widget. In this app main up here on top of it just shows that, oh, this is where all the main widget stuff is happening. All the display here goes under here in this static configuration, which is just a widget that doesn't have any changeable settings because we turned intents off when we created the extension. I'm just going to change this to BTC widget because, well, you won't be able to see it right here or right now, but I'll show you it later. So basically, it's a title and description. Actually, I think a screenshot should be popping up over here if I do remember to add a screenshot. Basically, it's just if you add a widget, it'll show up the title and description. So Description. What is this description going to be? This is a or track Bitcoin prices easily. A little slogan here. Pretty cool. Anyways, with these previews here, by the way, if you go down here, this is where I told you where all the previews are happening. I can actually copy and paste this code here. So this code is actually from this entry view here. And I'm adding a little modifier here, which is, oh, this is actually in the context of a small widget. So it's displaying a small widget with this view in here, because otherwise it'll think, oh, it's not a widget, it's just a little view that you add in. But yeah, what I can do is I can just copy and paste and change this to medium and large sizes. So inside this family thing, I can set the, yeah, I can preview different sizes. It's kind of hard to see because my face is blocking everything. But yeah, there we go. You've got all this text here, or I mean, you've got all this code here, which displays different size widgets. I can even group these together by adding this group. Inside these curly braces, I can put all these widgets inside. Then what I can do is I can change this environment. I can add an environment modifier, which has a color scheme. So it's \.color scheme to change the color scheme. I can set this to a light or dark mode. Basically, light or dark mode. That's pretty much it. But yeah, you don't really see anything right now, so I'm just gonna set it back to light mode. So it's just such an easy way of testing the app instead of having to go here and wait for it to build and wait for a simulator to launch and wait for everything to load. It's all right here, and it just updates so easily. I could just going back into this text here, in this actual main view here, and change the text, and it just automatically shows text. It's just crazy. It's amazing. But yeah. And anyways, let's stop talking about how amazing SwiftUI is, and let's start talking about the actual app now, because you're already 16 minutes in. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So first of all, I want to put in some data. First of all, I'm going to create a struct inside the simple entry called BTC data. So I'm just doing simple entry.btc data. It's just where we're putting in all the data. So BTC data is probably going to be of type decodable. And this type decodable is to help us with fetching all the data and all the Bitcoin URL stuff. So basically, you're just going to see this up in the provider when we're getting all the data. This decodable is gonna come in handy because when we get all the JSON stuff, or when we get all the data, which is a JSON or JavaScript object notation, basically just a fancy file extension, it basically what SwiftUI can do with decodable objects is that you can just take all these parameters, all these values, and just put it straight into the struct. It's going to be really simple to use. If you've done my clickbait generator, you'll see how you probably would have seen how easy it is. Anyways, I'm actually going to now put in the variables. So pretty much from the URL here, or not the URL, basically from all this data here. And by the way, if you wanted to get the name of the URL, it's pretty much this right here. Let me just extend it here. So this is the URL if you wanted to copy and paste it, but I'm going to show that later in the video, or later in the tutorial. Anyways, let's stop talking about that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, like I said, take in all these values here and just put them into a struct as parameters, or not parameters, as properties. So as you can see, price 24 hours corresponds with this. So make sure that the naming is correct. And this makes it so much easier. So once you create the data from fetching the data, everything will be here, and it's going to be so easy. But some other stuff we want to add is maybe we want to get the difference in here. So when we're fetching the difference, we wanted to calculate the difference here. So it's going to be all calculated here. So if I put in some curly braces here and do price, or actually I'm going to just add in some line breaks. So basically what you can do is you can compute the value in here. So once you get the data, then it will already have been computed in here, hence the name computed property. So what we can do is just return the price 24 hours minus the last trade price. We can even cut this down since it's only just one simple line. We can just delete the return, and I'm just going to make it a bit more compact, and we can put it all on one line. So simple. I know, right? So after this, I'm going to add in some test data as static lets. Basically, it's going to make us make it a lot easier for us to put in, I guess, data or to test data. So if you want to put the data in here and add preview data, you can just do .preview data, and it'll show and it'll have all this preset preview data, and it's just going to make it so much easier. So BTC data, we want to put in pretty much everything in here. So price, volume 24 hours, and last trade price. What I'm just going to simply do is put in the price 24 hours, the volume from 24 hours, and the last trade price. Okay, there we go. We've got everything in here. And yeah, basically that's it. You can see there's a price, volume, and last trade price. Everything in here is pretty much the same. And I'm just gonna create another one for when there's an error. This one's simple, all the numbers are set to 0. Now you're wondering, why can't I just make it so, since all the numbers are 0, I could just create a new BTC data? Well, you really could just do that, but this just makes it so much easier to just make. Or to just fetch. Instead of having to create a new struct over and over again, you can just fetch this static let, every single time. It's pretty simple. A few more things I'm going to add is the data. So var data equals to BTC data. We've created the type here, but we want to add the value into the entry so we can pass in the data itself. We also want to add one more called the error. And if there's an error, then it's going to be true, and if not, it's going to be false. It's just easy for us to check. Okay, if there's an error here, then we can show that there's an error. Basically, it's just to let the view know, okay, there may or may not be an error, just like how we're passing down the data. Some other things you want to do is add in the difference. Now this is going to be quite a chunk, so I'm just going to copy it in or paste it in. So first of all is a difference mode. Now this is going to be an enum, and it's going to be of type string. Basically we have an enum with different cases or different types, up, down, and error. And these just correspond to the same string, up, down, and error. And it's just going to help us check. So for the colors, you can put this in and it'll find the correct color, since all the colors in here is just up, down, or error plus color. It's going to be really simple to fetch the color, but just by feeding in the difference mode, And now we've created the type, we also want to create the variable itself, which is why we have the diff mode variable or property, which is of type difference mode. If there's an error, basically it's just going to be conditional, just like how we have a computed property, except it's going to be an if statement. So if there's an error or the data's difference is 0, so if there's an error or if there's a standstill, it's just going to be that yellow color that we have, the error color. And we're just returning .error. If it goes up, if the difference is more than 1 or more than 0, and by the way, if you're wondering what the difference is, data.difference, it's in here. It's down in here. It's already computed. It's a computed property which references from a computed property. It's like computed propertyception. Anyways, now down in the else statement, we're just returning down because that's the only other thing that we have, down. So error, up, and down. That's pretty much it. And what else do we have? Well, that's really it. That's all the data. So it's been taking some time, so I'm just going to put all this data and error into here because since you have new properties, we just want to fetch or feed them in since this is now required. We need to add them. So data. This is going to be actually what I could do, or might be able to do, is set a default value. So this preview data, or this is going to be set to preview data by default, and this error is going to be set to false by default. Actually, I'm gonna just get rid of that because it's gonna differ. So, and we want to test different things. So let's just put them back in. Basically, if you already add values into them, then they can become pretty much anything. You can feed them data and error, or if you don't feed them in, then it'll go back to that default data. So this data is gonna be the preview data that we've made earlier, and error is going to be false because for now we're just testing it without any errors. And one more, there we go. And if you're wondering what an error might be, that'll probably be something like, basically, it might just be something to do with an error with just fetching the URL or fetching the data from the URL. Now, I completely talked over what I just did. Basically, I added the data and error values into the sample entry here for all three previews, and I put them into a provider into this pretty much in here wherever the simple entry was or wherever the error was. I'm gonna talk about the provider stuff later, so if you're confused by what all this stuff is, all this code is, don't be intimidated. I'm going to explain that later in the tutorial. Okay, what else do we have next? Now, after this, I'm just going to get a start on all the visual stuff, and I'm going to work on that later. I'm just going to continue later on in possibly a part 2 of this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down, or I'm going to go check what I need to do. Right, first of all, I need to add in a zstack. Basically in this body, I'm adding in a zstack in here, and I'm just going to put the text in here. Just like how we created a group, this groups all the previews together, but this adds a zstack. This zstack is a zstack. Basically, it's a stack with different objects being layered on top. The other two types are hstack and vstack. And of course you can nest them in. So you just have these curly braces, and basically zstack layered on objects layered on top of each other. Hstack objects layered horizontally like this, and vertical stack is basically objects being layered vertically, so like this. So zstack, hstack, and vstack. It's like I'm making some sort of like magical pose, like to create water or something. Who knows? It could be like, it could be like a Avatar of the Last Stack Bender. Anyways, first of all, let's add a zstack. It's not zstack, it's zstack. So image. First of all, what we want to do is with the zstack, right behind, or what's going to come in first, which is going to be right behind, that's going to be the image. So that image, we're adding an image, and that's going to be the BG image that we already have in here. So that's why I'm feeding in the name of the image, BG. I'm going to resume the automatic updating so you can see how everything's going. And if we actually change color scheme, you're going to see that the image is going to change. But I'm going to show that later because once this is done, it's going to look pretty cool. So I'm going to make this image resizable, and I'm also going to make this unredacted. Now, what the resizable modifier does is that it resizes it to fit inside the widget itself. So you can see now it fits. Before, it was like sometimes too big, like this. Now it just fits right into the thing. Just don't worry about the medium-sized widget. It looks stretched. I mean, it does, compared to this, look squashed, but it still looks good. Like, if you added a medium widget by itself, it won't look bad. If you want to add your own, then sure, why not? I'll show you how to have things differ depending on the widget size, but that's going to be something I'll show later. Now, so we've got the image in here, and after this image is going to be a hstack. Remember that hstack I talked about, the stack bender or avatar for last stack bender, like zstack, hstack, vstack, like 1,000 years ago, the VStack army invaded. Anyways, let's stop talking about a TV show and let's start talking about the actual app itself. So hstack, we've got a hstack or horizontal stack, and that's going to be there's going to be a VStack inside here. I mean, look at that. We've got we've got the stack family, like, coming together for a reunion. But yeah, basically what we're going to do is we're going to put in all the, all the text in here. So all the data, the header, and all the money stuff in here. Basically, see, you've got header and you've got money. Now what we're going to do is make it so it's aligned towards the left. So this is going to be alignment. We're going to put some braces in here, and inside alignment, this is going to be .leading. There we go. And outside of this, since this is still centered, I want to, for this hstack, since we're putting this in a hstack, I can actually add in another view in here. Basically, this view would like to basically, we want a view that can fill up all the space. So it pushes all the text towards the left, or left if you're looking at my camera. So it's like left this way. So what we're going to do is add in a spacer. Type it in, and it's a spacer. As you can see, the spacer just fills up space, and it just pushes everything towards the left. And that's, yeah, and it can change size, because that's the beauty of SwiftUI. It's always very flexible. So what we're gonna do is add in we're gonna add in some padding to this VStack, just so we can, add a bit of, space. So what else? That's all we really have for now. I am just going to, well, we've already gone over quite a bit. We've gone over all the BCC data. We've gone over basics of SwiftUI. We've gone over basics of widgets. I'm probably going to leave it off here since it's already like half an hour long. So in the next part of the tutorial, where we do more stack bending stuff and SwiftUI stuff, we're going to add in some more. We're just going to finish off the visuals, and we're going to get straight into the URL stuff. So see you in part 2. Bye bye.